Hey church, today we're going to make unleavened bread to eat later today at our upper room service. If you head to the Grace Point website and search Holy Week Huddles, you'll find a couple simple recipes you can make, or you can search for your own. We're going to make the one entitled Unleavened Communion Bread. Perhaps you're wondering why we're making unleavened bread. Well, for starters, yeast is a little hard to come by right now. But more importantly, unleavened bread plays an important part in the biblical tradition. Perhaps as you've been reading scripture, you've noticed a passing reference to unleavened bread. So what was the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Let's check in with our resident experts.
The Feast of Unleavened Bread celebrates the way Israel quickly fled slavery in Egypt and entered new life as a free nation.
This practice is illustrated by the way the Israelites left Egypt so quickly that they didn't have time to wait for their bread to rise.
During this festival, Israelites would clean out all the leaven from their home and eat only unleavened bread for 7 days.
I'll pause the video and read Exodus 12.
So there you have it. The practice of eating unleavened bread was an annual tradition for Israel closely associated with the Passover as a way of remembering when God had led them out of Egypt. They had to leave so quickly that they didn't have time to wait for the yeast to work its way through the dough. So instead, they made their bread without yeast. But maybe you're wondering, what is yeast and how does it work? Let's check in again with our resident experts.
Yeast or leaven is a natural organism that grows and reproduces in dough.
When yeast is added to dough, a fermentation process begins as the yeast eats the sugars and releases carbon dioxide gas, causing the dough to rise.
To get bread to rise in Bible times, they would combine flour and water and leave it at room temperature.
After a long time, the dough ferments and rise.
By saving a portion of the fermented dough, they could create a starter dough to ferment other dough and speed up the rising process for future batches.
We have an example of starter dough here.
As you can see, making leavened bread is a lot of work. So making unleavened bread is much easier. There's no rising process. It's simply flour, water, and go. Unleavened bread reminded Israel of their hasty departure from Egypt when there was no time to let their bread rise. But it also was a warning against corruptive influences like Egypt. Jesus picks up this very notion in Matthew 16 when he warns his disciples of the yeast of the Pharisees. Perhaps you want to stop the video right now and read Matthew 16. Well, I think it's time we make our bread.